Well, that was
Why
the
I
wrong
just
button.
pictured a mushroom cloud coming over there.
It's okay. It's not here.
That was my I hit record sound effect.
And we've just said
Explosion.
goodbye to Duluth. Anyways. You want to do the podcast? Okay.
At some point tonight. Greetings and/or salutations, and welcome to Imbibe Cinema. The Imbibe Cinema podcast is brought to you by the Blue Whiskey Independent Film Festival, otherwise known as BWIF. We seek independent, character-driven films of all lengths, styles, and genres. To learn more, please visit us at bwif.com. I am Festival Operations Director and MC Jonathan C. Leggett, along with my co-hosts, Executive Director
Michael B. Newens.
and Cinema Centennial Program Director
Trisha Leggett.
In this episode, we are going to be discussing Michael Showalter's Hello, My Name is Doris. The cocktail we are imbibing is the Staten Island Ferry, which is named, of course, after the ferry that gets you to Staten Island. The interesting thing about this is the only... the Staten Island is the only borough that does not actually have a drink directly named after it. It has it named after the ferry. And the interesting thing about this drink is that it is essentially a pina colada. And the joke about it, or the reason for this drink, is because you live on an island, and one would think island life. And I'm using giant air quotes when I say that. So that's why it is a pina colada on the rocks, not blended, and it doesn't have coconut milk because there's no coconuts on Staten Island. Oh. So that is why this is an island drink, but not really. No, the air quotes. I mean, if they can't hear my air quotes of island drink, and so that's it's really tasty though.
The ferry is featured in the film, hence.
Yes.
Yes.
Well, she lives on Staten Island.
Yes, but the ferry is featured in the film.
Correct.
That is the connection.
Just trying to, say that we don't just drink for the sake of drinking.
No, we don't
You
just
don't.
drink.
You don't.
Important word, just.
I built an entire bar to house the liquor that we are getting for this podcast.
Mm-hmm.
So I will state, this film was definitely not the comedy that I was expecting when I saw the preview.
No.
It was still amazingly funny, but this was a truly heartfelt movie where it managed to mix the humorous situations with what I would lovingly call cringeworthy humanity moments.
Yes, not like, movies that I know I'm not crazy about are, just embarrassing.
Yeah.
Like putting you in a situation where it's just embarrassing, and the fact that you're so embarrassed and so like in the wrong situation, that's what's funny. And the worse that it gets for that individual, that like whole Schadenfreude German thing.
What's wrong with that?
No, just because, they're the only ones that have a word for it.
No,
He's staring at me this whole time like, John's the German, not me. Why are you looking at me?
But all
I
right,
married
fine.
him? Oh, my bad.
There's your Schadenfreude.
There you go. Oh, come on. Set and match.
But based off of just even the trailer, what I really liked about this is like, you think you're going to go see a movie that's very like, that's one thing that's very, very funny, and that's like, it's just gonna, it's not gonna have that real humanity moment. And that's what I loved about watching it, is that the experience was so much deeper than what you got off the surface level. And when there's that inevitable thing that you're waiting for throughout the film, for her to confront her feelings and actually share this, you think that it's going to go one way, and it doesn't quite go exactly the way that you would think in a movie that's advertised like this.
True.
And I really liked that.
The thing that I actually loved most about the ending of this film was how Inception-esque the end of this film was. Because again, throughout the course of this entire film, she's having daydreams, fantasies of how she wants situation X, Y, or Z to play out, and it never actually plays out that way. In fact, she's usually caught daydreaming in that moment. And at the very end, she has this, I'm going to the elevator, and he chases after her, and they have this moment, and then all of a sudden it snaps to, and she's at the elevator alone, and he's still in his office. And yet she gets into the elevator, and all of a sudden he then chases after her. And again, the question becomes, was the dreidel, like, did the dreidel just hit a thing and it's just going to keep spinning? Mm-hmm. Was she daydreaming yet again that he is now chasing after her, or was he actually chasing after her?
And if he was it a romantic gesture like in these films that you predict, or is it no? Really, I forgive you.
Have toilet paper on your shoe, or
no?
Oh,
more of I forgive you, and our friendship has merit, and so forth.
Right.
Oh, you take the noble. Good for you.
I married you.
That's not noble.
So he's taken the self-deprecation.
Yeah, it's mine
he's taking
now.
your tool away.
See, and that is so John.
Yeah.
So John steals it.
I've stolen your birthday well wish.
And
It's
make
mine
it
now.
yours. And then everybody's like, "Oh, John's thing is so cool." I'm like, "Fuck you! That was my thing."
Well, you've gone on the record now.
Yep.
It's Trisha's thing.
People will know that you started. Well, you didn't. All About Eve. I mean, technically, it was probably a thing.
It was a
even around
thing.
the time.
It was a thing.
You were a thing.
Once, Johnny. Anyways. What were we talking about?
We were talking about Hello, My Name is Doris. And so I think that Michael Showalter, who directed this film, did such an amazing job. And again, he was one of the writers, one of the stars of Wet Hot American Summer. The man is absolutely hysterical.
I did like a double take when I found out that he directed this. I was like, wait, the same Michael Showalter from Wet Hot American Summer?
Yeah.
That can't be right.
Yeah.
But
his humanity, The Big Sick and Hello, My Name is Doris, the humanity in these.
where I would go, "Oh, the guy that did The Big Sick? Well, that totally makes sense."
Oh, okay. But then if you then think of him as the dude in Wet Hot American Summer...
I don't remember the film as well as you do.
Oh, man. That's one of my favorite lines of all time is the one I do with Corinne, my former roommate, Corey.
Mm-hmm.
Just, I want you inside me. What was that? Oh, it was from before.
Michael Showalter line.
Yeah.
There's a lot of things I'm sure John says that are actually from that movie.
That's fair.
Oh,
That's
see?
very fair.
And this is where John takes credit for somebody else's stuff. So it's not just me.
Yeah, I'm just
It's
a
Michael
plagiarist.
Showalter.
I'm a plagiarist.
Quick sidebar to what was being said. So this morning I was pouring some La Colombe coffee. Yeah, that's a shameless plug for La Colombe, but it's important to the story. I was pouring some La Colombe cold brew into my thermos before going to work, and I was like, pour in the Colombe of La or something like that. And then Catherine says to me, so do you just start to channel John when you know you're about to see him? And I thought that was extremely funny. And I was like, no, I would do that on any day. That's not John's thing. He's never said the Colombe of La's. So he inceptioned Catherine?
Blah.
Or me? I don't know. But anyway,
So
slightly
getting
connected.
credit for other people's stuff and
John
owning
Leggett
it is trademarked by John Leggett.
Yeah.
Exactly.
That is his
Just-
thing. You have a thing. We discovered it. It's your thing.
Yay.
Wait.
So
My thing is other people's things? No, it's actually written as a short film by Laura Taruso. So this got expanded. Michael Showalter and Laura worked together to write the feature length.
okay.
And then he directed it.
There are a lot of things in this film that I find very interesting that are not like deep dive dealt with or connected in a way where you would think most films try to like tie up with a bow. And you're like, oh, why does she dress like that? No, she's just a snazzy dresser. For a very introverted person, she has a really wild wardrobe.
Right.
And
That's true.
it's awesome, but it's part of her character.
Yeah.
And it doesn't make you think it's weird. I enjoyed the hell out of it.
Oh, yeah.
but it's one of those things that Sally Field does such an amazing job of
Yes.
like making it her second skin and all of the things that are this character. And
Like you
making
believe that that's actually how she dresses.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, and the fact that this is all like all of there's some of the most absurd things she makes so personal and vulnerable and honest, and it's like, wow. But also like they go into the whole like this is like fake online persona in order to get to know somebody, but we don't go too deep down that rabbit hole. We only go a little bit. We take you step your foot in there and then you get out before you're totally stalker and creepy. And then there are other aspects as well, like the her hoarding issue.
Yes.
It could have been a heavier note, and it's not.
No.
The relationship with her brother and her sister-in-law, who in the brief
Jesus.
time that we've met her, I don't know about you, Michael, but we all wanted to just bitch slap her.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Wendy McClellan.
She does a great
Covey
job.
From Reno 911. The
amazing.
Goldbergs. She like as a sister-in-law or just as a human being, you're like, oh my God, you are a horrible human being.
Right, but she reminds you of somebody that you've either heard of from somebody else or somebody you know, and it's one of those things where you're like, oh my God, I hate that person so much.
I mean, she played it so well though, because you're sitting there going, I understand where you think you're coming from as a like being
But
you can't keep living here.
One of the great moments, I think, with the gentleman who played her brother,
Stephen
and
Root.
Thank you very much. Who I've seen in a bunch of stuff and
Office
love.
Space, Dodgeball.
He has this great moment where you kind of like you saw the setup where they were all schmoozing her because they want the house.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then
sell it.
right, and then you watch how it turns when they don't get what they want, and how the truth is revealed. But then you would think he's just a terrible person until you have that one scene with him and her by themselves where he's honestly, I'm afraid you're turning into mom. Like I can't leave you here. Like you can see like there's guilt. I left you here too long. Look what happened to you.
Yeah.
And that is such a really great moment to give that character and just so that you don't think like people aren't always just a jerk or a saint. There's usually a little bit of both, and I really like that because characters like that in films like this especially can come off very one-dimensional. And obviously a lot of the independent film we've watched recently, one of the things that we really call out is how supporting roles that have so much to offer that are so nuanced that you don't typically see. You kind of expect a stereotype, a cookie cutter thing. And again, this is another film where I think the supporting roles, you're like, damn, there's more meat on the bone than you thought there'd be.
Absolutely. And and that all clearly starts in the writer's room. There's so much backstory that isn't presented as exposition in the first 5 minutes of the movie.
Right.
Instead, it's filtered throughout. Like that scene is so much later in the movie with the brother. That scene is so much later in the movie, right?
Right.
Isn't it?
It's practically towards the very end.
Yeah, it's so much later, and yet you're still discovering more and more about this character. And then the other thing that I like about what you mentioned with the the hoarding and the social media stalking, it's so easy, I feel, for a writer to have this idea that helps support a character, and then they go, well, let's go take it further. Let's take it further, and let's take it further. And then you get to a point where you've now kind of gone, well, not kind of, you've gone beyond reality. You've gone into more of like a caricature because you've gone too far with it. Where in real life, real people, they reach a point where they're like, okay, now I'm going to come back from that.
Yeah.
I've gone a little crazy here, so I'm going to come back from that. Like her as a hoarder, we could have really gone down that route if we really wanted to, but it would have then it wouldn't have supported what the character was all about. It would have been about a huge part of the movie would have been about her as a hoarder.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Right.
And I do like that they did not make her hoarding a caricature. The house was cluttered, but we're not talking like stacks of magazines that reached the ceiling. Like, it was not anything outlandish. It was very, unsettling.
And this is meant to be a visual, it's symbolism of a larger problem.
Yes.
And the fact that she has basically built herself into a little fortress, and that it's a call for help. The fact that she has all this stuff that means so much to her, because she wants something to mean so much to her, and there is nothing, because her whole world has been her mother.
Yeah.
And that was out of obligation and guilt motivated, and that her whole life was sacrificed, and she's now waking up to it in a way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I have to ask, is there anything that either of you, I'll try to think of one myself, but is there anything that you have collected or continue to collect that you realize at this point it is folly and it's just clutter?
Yeah, I can go first. Absolutely, all the time. I have so much stuff. Like, every card that I get, I keep. I don't throw those away.
Wow.
Yeah. They go into a shoebox.
Okay.
And I have shoeboxes for different things.
Oh my.
So cards, for the most part, go into one thing, but then like I keep art. I keep all sorts of things. Anything that means something a lot to somebody to give to me, it means enough to me that I feel I should hold on to it. Now, is that ridiculous, though? Because I'm talking like years and years worth of stuff. There's several shoe boxes of things. And it's like, well, I can't get rid of those. And then I reach a certain point, too, with a lot of stuff where I'm like, well, I've held on to this for so long.
Now
just
I might as
discard
well
it
just
now.
And let me tell you what the advice I have given on behalf of a certain family member who shall be nameless. I have said, you know what? If you want to keep it, but you're never actually going to go into it. Right? It's just the presence of something that you can't let go of. Just get a bonfire. I mean, organize first, but then get a bonfire. Burn it. Keep the ashes in a little urn, and then you just label it. And then you have it like a cabinet that has all this shit. And it's pretty, and it's labeled, and you know where it is.
So now you just have a bunch of labeled urns saying, like,
It's like a
cards.
Yeah.
It's like an urn graveyard.
Child artwork, 2001.
See,
to
that only
2010.
reminds me of my personal favorite, which is a friend of my family who was over at my mother's house and kicked back to relax on the sofa and knocked a pillow into an urn, and it tipped over. And luckily tipped into the wall in a way that it just kind of like pressed up against the wall. And he's like, oh, shit, was that anything important? I went, no, it's just my dad.
Sorry, that shouldn't be funny, but it is
Oh,
really
it's
funny.
hysterical.
What's better was
Yeah.
the fact that Judy's like, I just didn't know where to put him. But then I'm like, he always liked being in front of the television. But they must have had a fight, because now he's over by the desk.
Yes.
And he does not get a good view.
No.
Maybe he doesn't like maybe she thinks he would be judging what she's watching.
Oh,
No.
does she cover it up when she watches The Ghost Whisperer or something?
No, she doesn't do that. No, it's more like Keith Urban or whoever.
Right now it's just Queen, which I
Queen,
don't
yes,
think...
she's in a big.
She's
big
huge Queen fan.
Would he
right now.
not approve?
I don't think he would care about Queen. Like whether or not she's watching Queen.
No, or but it's they had a relationship beyond you, so who knows?
That's true. But yeah, no, that's just, I'm just thinking of all these labeled urns, and that's the only thought that goes through my head.
No, that'd be awesome. Just think of the story there. You look at it and it's like, it's this job from this date to this date. It's
So
your
here's
college,
my responses
it's
urn.
all your
Here's-
your college like papers and notes and whatnot. So everything under
Textbooks.
and then all that is under this urn. And then like your dad, and then like
And then your dad. So the only thing about this is now I'm seeing like, I mean, unless you start to really compile some of these groupings together, there's a lot of urns, and to me, that's almost more
But if
Clutter.
somebody's like, hey,
Now you're
do you
collecting
still
urns.
have that notebook that I had from high school?
Oh, yeah, here.
It's so much easier to give it to you. Just be like, look, I filed it all right in here. Here you go.
No, because you can scan this stuff, guys.
Just don't
and then
breathe
just
heavily.
put it on like a series of USB ports.
Or into the cloud.
Into the cloud. Oh, no, we break the cloud. Can we break a cloud? Is that
I don't know. Our podcast hasn't broken the cloud yet.
yet?
Nice.
No, but then that leads me down this rabbit hole of like, okay, folks, this has nothing to do with this movie. So we have to find a movie that has something to do with urns. Because now I'm curious, what happens if somebody in your family is in an urn and then like that person dies? Who inherits the urn? Like, do people get passed down generation to generation? Like, what do you do at that point?
Should we take a call? I mean, if we took calls, that would be a moment.
Oh, my God.
By the way, we'd be like, has somebody ever passed an urn down to you? Please call 555.
555.
That's too many fives.
Oh, whatever. That was an
7-9.
international call. Trish, is there anything that you have kept that you realize is just clutter?
To this day, like there are certain like special things, like very important things. That, like, okay, this I will keep. I will go through on a sorting basis, and then I can't get rid of a thank you note right away, or I can't get rid of like a birth announcement or anything like that. Anything that's kind of like it doesn't fall into the keep forever exactly, depending on who it is, but doesn't like.
It's like, let's put it on the fridge until we're like, we've had this for long enough.
Right?
Yeah.
They're 5 now. We can take it down. But that kind of thing. But there was a point where it's like with thank you notes or stuff like that, I'm like, oh my God, I keep it. Or birthday cards. I'll keep it. And then it's like it has to have like there's got to be like a mourning period where it sits on the counter for so long before it gets to the garbage. Like it can't
because
go
it just seems too cold to read it, absorb it, enjoy it, and immediately discard it.
Yeah.
It just feels wrong.
It feels like people are judging you somewhere else on the planet.
Yes, I get
Obviously,
that.
if you're not recycling, you're totally being judged. You should be recycling.
You should
those cards.
recycle. But the thing I will say is I totally am all for people that can do that. Read it, absorb it, toss it.
I do like what you do with our Christmas cards, that you tape them to the soffit and
they're on display.
and
That's
the kitchen.
my favorite part of
Yeah,
Christmas.
she displays all the Christmas cards.
Oh, yeah,
that
we do
get,
the same.
and
They
then,
go around the
and
room.
then shortly after Christmas is over, the thing for me, I think, is
They send
electronics.
them to a farm of
Yeah,
upstate.
farm upstate. The thing for me is, I think, wires.
You do keep a lot of
I
wires.
keep so many.
Oh my
like,
God!
you and
we
my
have
father.
baskets of
well,
them.
I mean, like, yeah, we have entire baskets of them. Like, I think the problem is just like we'll be like, oh, this VCR or something is broken. Let's get rid of the VCR. But it's like, no, the power strip comes out. I mean, we might need that at some point. I don't know why I do that.
Yeah,
I wonder
because
if
you know
anybody's
you'll
going,
need
"What's
it.
a VCR?"
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I mean, it's actually happened with this podcast, by the way.
Yeah.
I think it was the first day. I was like, oh, crap, I don't have this. And it was like a
wire.
I needed a 1/4 to 1/4 inch cable, which most people, unless, they have an electric guitar, use. And sure enough,
John has an electric guitar, and now, granted, I sometimes play my electric guitar, so it's not a chord I just have extra. But yeah, I managed to have that. Doris, throughout this film, has a number of daydreams where she does get lost in herself and then snaps out of it only as people are calling attention to it. Have you ever had a moment where your daydream got you in trouble?
oh, yeah, for sure. Not in, I don't think, in my adult life.
Oh, that's
but
good.
For sure in high school. Because I would totally zone out and be thinking about whatever movie script I was working on. Basically, that was all of my notebooks. My history notebook, movie notebook, math notebook. Sometimes just like a page of numbers that I would turn to when the teacher walked by.
Oh,
but
dear.
Movie notebook. Yeah, I mean, I for sure would get caught in this moment where I'd be like staring off, thinking about something, or looking like I'm paying attention. That's actually probably the worst. Where I'm looking, but I'm not, like, there's that daze over your eyes. That glaze, thank you. Daze. I'm dazed and confused.
Now I'm thinking of donuts because you said glaze.
Krispy Kreme.
Krispy Kreme.
You have to be Catholic to get it. Anyway.
But anyway, so I would be just like looking at, the teacher, and then they would like say, they would look out at the room and they would ask for the answer.
And you're making eye contact.
And I'm already making eye contact. And I would be like, oh shit, that just said my name. I don't know. And then they would ask another question, like to help me out.
And it just gets worse.
Yeah. And it just gets worse.
Oh, yeah.
And then they're like, okay, we'll try somebody else then. Michael, stay after class.
Oh, dear.
See, no,
I was a great student.
I've worked very hard to keep my daydreams in check. I'm very good. I like to think of it like John's acting abilities. John is an incredible actor. Really, I'm not just saying this because I like him a lot. No. He can be goofing around on set, and then they're like action, and like that he's in character. It's amazing to watch. He just kind of flip a switch and go from off to on, and he's taking this in a filthy way right now.
I did.
But he just can be that focused, and that he can switch from fun to work, and so I have worked very hard to be very good at that, and I daydream all the fucking time. and then when I realize reality is, excuse me, back over here, then I'll be like, yeah, I'm really good at work. When there are lapses in between customers where you're just standing by yourself in a room. I was thinking of that kid with the Chuck Norris movie.
Oh yeah,
I can
remember. Yeah, I know.
Yeah, totally that. There. That's where I'm having adventures with Chuck Norris, and then all of a sudden it's like, oh hi, and
I'm really here.
Yeah, I'm really here. I was saving orphans in Chechnya, but I'm back.
900 orphans. Chechnyan orphans,
right?
Yes.
And I find that it's I'm only not totally aware that I'm doing it in the car. In the car, I totally will go off and have these great ideas and whatnot, and then
that's not scary at all.
No, I only cart the children around with me.
I'll be like thinking about the song and like trying to interpret the song in a certain way.
Right.
And sometimes it's a song I've heard a million times and I'm like, oh my God, I never looked at it that way.
I wonder what they were doing when they were writing this.
Your mind wanders.
Yeah, you do.
But it doesn't mean you're not, attentive to safety.
I'm a professional daydreamer. I got this. I got it
down. Okay, mine's boring. It was just going to be work, but...
No, tell us.
Go ahead, share with the class.
It's just a meeting that I got.
You got busted?
I got busted for daydreaming in a meeting. But that's nothing. That's nothing.
That's worse. I hate that. I'm so sorry.
I don't drive.
That's so awkward.
What were you daydreaming about?
I don't really recall what I was.
But your mind was just elsewhere.
Yeah, it was just elsewhere, and then all of a sudden, like, hey, John, what do you think we can accomplish that in my home? So what?
Oh, see, and I would be real bad in that moment. I would be like, absolutely, and they would be like, great, and then I would turn to the person next to me and go, what did I just agree to?
Problem is when you're working remotely and you have no one to turn to.
Just message.
Oh, no, see, mine, that was actually one where I was
recording all your calls so then you can like play them back.
No, thankfully I don't daydream much when I'm working from home. The daydreaming for this particular instance was
in an office?
In an office, yeah.
Oh, okay.
I find myself, I know everybody is a little different, but I find myself getting distracted, daydreaming or whatever, thinking about other things when I'm in like a hectic setting, because there's just like, it's like too much, it's like too much stimulation. There's just like that. I'm like, I have to like calm my mind. And so like, I take this little like mental vacation where if I can close my door and I listen to movie scores a lot while I work, I get into like a rhythm and I'm able to really focus. I know the argument there is when you're listening to music, you're doing actually two things.
No, that's the thing. You know how
different
many
kind of
they talk about all
multitasking.
this all the time.
Yeah.
Writers will. I don't know how many times I've heard interviews with writers where they talk about they write to music, and I'm like, how can you do that? Because then I'm listening to the music. I couldn't. It's two things at the same time.
It depends on the music.
I can't. No, but scoring.
Scores.
Like if you listen to oh my god, that makes everything you're doing sound much more important.
Yeah.
Oh,
It
absolutely.
makes everything so crucial and intense.
When you drive, also
To score? Oh
to
my God.
to
yeah.
like
Batman Returns.
the Born Supremacy soundtrack.
shit.
Yeah,
Oh my
it's
God.
awesome. By the way, you're like, yeah, I'm going 25, but it's awesome.
That's the thing. I personally cannot code or write documentation while listening to 80s music because, unfortunately for me, I start typing the lyrics because, again, my brain makes that connection where words that I'm typing are become the words that I'm hearing.
Sure.
Whereas a score, to me, that to me just it gives you an energy.
Yes,
And
because it's telling a
that's not
story without words.
Yeah, and it's not multitasking because, again, like if I'm singing 80s tunes at the same time I'm working, yeah, that's multitasking. That's just dumb on my part. All right. So we're going to take a few minutes to fill our glasses and get ready to imbibe more after this.
Hey there, listeners. This is Michael with Imbibe Cinema. Are you looking to experience more great independent films? Begin your Imbibe Cinema streaming membership today and watch the film Dead Weight, now available through October 31st, 2023. This powerful documentary from Italy follows Angelo Massaro, who spent 21 years under lock and key before he was found innocent of a crime he never committed. Check out the trailer using the link in our show notes. Imbibe Cinema streaming memberships are currently $4.99 per month after a 3-day free trial. Membership benefits include exclusive year-round content, like this month's film Dead Weight, plus discounts on festival passes and tickets. To join, visit watch.imbibecinema.com. Now, back to the show.
You're listening to Imbibe Cinema. I'm Jonathan C. Leggett. I'm here along with...
Michael Nowens.
Trisha Leggett.
And we're discussing Hello, my name is Doris. Enjoying this podcast? Please subscribe or follow us on all of your favorite podcast providers to get
All
the new
of them.
episodes. All of them. Every one.
Not one, all of them.
Well, I mean, if you're going to listen in stereo.
Sorry, I was so rude to interrupt you. But I just was like, all of them.
On your favorite one, your personal favorite.
You can do it again. I won't interrupt. I'm sorry.
We're taking this from the top.
And 5, 4. Enjoying this podcast? Please subscribe or follow us on your personal favorite podcast provider to get all the new episodes as soon as we release them, which is every fortnight. Rate and or leave us a review to help our show reach that larger audience. And you can also follow Imbibe Cinema on Facebook, Twitter, and now the Instagram.
The Grams.
We grammed it up.
The chatgrams or the snap?
The
Grams.
Snapgrams? No, we're not
Snapgram.
on the Snapgrams.
What?
You had a question.
I did.
You wanted to start off Act 2 with.
I was going to start off with a question.
Yes, you
And
have
that
it.
question is, what is that
It's
question?
it's written on
That piece of paper.
Who's on first? What's going on?
Third base.
You got far?
Okay.
I don't know.
So this movie that we watched, hello, my name is Doris. Doris is plagued, as it were, with a crush that kind of spirals, where it's innocent at first. There's a little fantasy in her head, but then the Facebook opens that door.
Mm-hmm.
And she learns more about him, and she becomes like a junkie. She wants to know more about him, and then that leads to knowing where he's going to be, predicting, and so it actually does wonders by getting her out of her comfort zone and getting her out and about, as we talked about earlier. But also, I wanted to ask: have you ever been more into someone than you should be? Have you ever had a moment where you're like, whoa, I am more involved in your life than I should, whether it be romantic or not?
Right. The first thing that comes to mind, yes, I have been more involved in I guess my concern for a friend, where they're less concerned about a situation than I am, because I feel like there's a lot more weight to it, and that, let's say they're wrestling with a decision, and I know that they're leaning one way, but it's so clearly the wrong way. And so you're like, okay, but like look over behind door B.
Yeah.
And
Or just look behind you. Look behind you. Don't go there. Go
Right.
look behind you.
and then they ask. That's the thing that drove me nuts about it. Is it's like you already know what you want to do, and you're looking for the affirmation that that's what you should do, but you know that that's not what you're going to get.
Yeah.
And so it doesn't matter what I say. And I think that's how I got so involved, is because it became more of like a, how can I
Save them
how
from
can I
themselves.
save you from yourself?
Okay. Yep.
Wow, for me it's just creepy. Like so
Creep it up.
Facebook, I think I first got involved in Facebook. Thank God Facebook tells me, because I would have no freaking clue. But it was about 2009 or something.
Yep.
And that point, I had met this guy who I thought was kind of cool, but I didn't know much about. And I was like, I don't want to like get invested. Like, I don't want to be nosy and find out more, because then you ask people, and then that's how I realized how terrible Facebook is, because it lets you get away with stuff that you shouldn't, where you find out things.
Cyber stalking.
Yeah, well, I wouldn't necessarily stalk as much as I would just like look at his picture and be like, he's cute. I shouldn't be looking at this at work. That's weird. This is over investing. I am not looking at him right now. And I was. And he was super cute.
And then the years have not done well for him.
Oh, stop. He's great. You are too.
I'd be looking at pictures.
That's what I was waiting for. I was waiting for it to
the
not
turn.
end up
The
being
turn.
John.
Nope, it was totally John.
I
know.
I would also look at pictures of myself 11 years ago.
Except I don't do that now. You do that now. That's
I
unhealthy.
do.
A quick comment on
Yes.
Facebook. Just a quick comment about that. It's weird. Over time, like in the beginning, I felt like, people would be like, well, you could just stalk people and find out stuff. And I'm like, well, it's not really stalking. They're putting it out there
That's
Right.
true.
for you to see.
Yeah.
But that's the weird magical thing about Facebook, is that people post this stuff because they're thinking, oh, I want to share this with my friends. And before all of these privacy settings,
Yep.
anybody could see, and they didn't quite think that through.
No.
And so if you weren't friends with this person and you were checking out their page and finding out all this information that, now you can actually block people from seeing, you were
But you
stalking.
still no. There are plenty of people who
Yeah.
friend people on Facebook, who they are casual friends with, coworkers and so on and so forth, and don't know how to set up their settings for super private or whatnot.
Yeah.
There's still a lot of that opportunity where you don't necessarily know you don't know everybody that well to know that they're the kind of person that could abuse that. But what makes me curious is you have a generation. Dating myself again.
Same here.
Yeah. That has always had access to information that you really probably shouldn't have.
There's a whole parenting process now behind this, because
You need that book.
well, there's a whole process behind it now, because it's like when you're still young, and the way you behave with your friends, that's one thing, but then you behave that way on the internet. What I don't think clicked with people in the beginning, and I'm hoping, for a generation that's young now, they realize it because they're being taught it, is the fact that the internet is forever. You're writing in a Sharpie. You're not writing in pencil every time. Even if you delete it, it's not deleted. It can still be found.
Right. And every job you're ever going to have, all your bosses are going to look at your social media presence to find out the kind of person you really are. You can't just put on a nice outfit and do your hair and people go, oh yeah, they're put together, and then you can see the kind of person
the
they're really
ragers that you have.
Absolutely.
Right. Yeah, and that's a learning curve. The last decade or so,
sure,
has learned the harsh way.
Though to the same degree, I'm actually hoping that is the cause of one of my biggest gripes, which is the statement, boys will be boys.
No.
The idea that, oh, okay, you're young and stupid, so you're allowed to be an idiot.
No.
Okay, Facebook, boys will be boys, whatever it is, I like the idea that whatever you do is just written in Sharpie.
Yes.
Your life is written in Sharpie. Stop.
Do you want this thing to follow you around your entire adult life?
Yep.
It would be nice to bring some accountability back.
Oh, sweet baby Jesus, yes.
Brought to you by Sweet Baby Jesus.
Which sadly has expired. Which then makes me think of Sweet Baby Ray's, and I'm like, I want some ribs.
Oh. Now, granted, I'm my fourth glass into this rum. So.
Wait, fourth? I thought that was the third.
By the way, the rum's gone.
Nope.
Why is the rum gone?
Oh. But it was...
So, John, did you share the
Your
moment?
moment?
I think I went off on a Facebook tirade.
Well, we both did.
Yeah. So, what was the moment you realized you were more into somebody than you should be?
I think it was a similar situation to yours. I was not cyber stalking who became my future wife. Instead, it was a friend situation where they were having a bad breakup. They were trying to justify all the reasons to find a way to try to make it work for a small amount of time, and I'm just like, no, stop. Got highly invested into a relationship that wasn't mine to be invested in.
Right. You find yourself on your own for a long period of time having
trying to psychoanalyze how to address your friend and be like, okay, here's why X, Y, and Z. It's like, no, this is why I'm not even in this.
Right. I missed lunch because of this.
I'm not getting the sex out of this. What?
Trisha has this fantastic,
she's
I'm bored look on her face today.
We call
it's just really like this straight face, like I'm really not feeling anything in the moment, but or maybe she's bored.
Yeah.
But that's just how it reads, just like looking around like
I was with Chuck Norris.
So that movie,
the
that
kid
she
from the
referenced,
Never-Ending Story 2,
Which is
It's
super
sidekicks.
creepy. It was like I had this drop the pencils and know how many there were on the floor moment. Like I was like, oh yeah.
7
That
7
movie
pencils.
that I basically only remember kind of the idea of the plot because I related, not to Chuck Norris, but to having in-depth daydreams that have plot.
Jonathan
that there
Brandis.
is, they're picking up where you left off the last time you were daydreaming. I really did love that. There was a storyline to the daydream. So every time he went, he would be somewhere else in the plot, and we're getting to the end of the story.
Right.
And I appreciate that, and so that's why I remember it. But then, for whatever reason, when we were talking about it, and I'm like, how many Chuck Norris movies have I watched that I would even know?
It's probably like the only Chuck Norris movie you can name, right?
Yeah, and I couldn't even name it. But then it was like the kid. It's the kid from Neverending Story 2. How do I even know that?
That was honestly the
I don't
weirdest.
remember watching that movie either. I don't remember the Neverending Story 1, 2, and we learned 3 plus a television series. The more you know.
And a couple in development or concept.
Well, yeah,
Of
because
course.
guys, it's the never-ending story.
And we're bringing it back. If it's from the 80s, we're bringing it back.
That's true. That has become a big thing.
Well, yeah, because
I'm
we're all
waiting
old
for Alf
now.
to come back. When
You're
does
old.
Alf come back?
It'll come back.
It will.
Alf
Give
will
it time.
totally
Alf will be
yeah.
back. And I believe the show's on Hulu, by the way. I watched the pilot and I was like, wow.
I don't think I could sit through it. I think it
No.
would ruin the childhood
Experience.
bond.
So don't do it.
No.
I tried it with the commish. It didn't work.
But he was lying on the floor dead for a summer before we found out he wasn't dead.
Yeah, we were really, really involved.
Who was
in
the one that
commish.
blew up that we were like, you killed Stan? Yeah, we couldn't. As children, we couldn't get over that. Plus,
John's like,
when you watch
"What?"
when you watch a series as a family during pizza night, you get very emotionally invested, and there are certain things that maybe you shouldn't be watching while you eat pizza, like one of the main characters blown up.
Yeah.
But it does
You and I
prepare
used to
you.
watch Bones.
Right, but that's because my mother is
While
a
eating
forensic
dinner.
television junkie, and she would always have it on around like the time we had dinner. Like we didn't eat watching it because we had dinner in the kitchen.
She watched Bones? I didn't know that.
No.
No,
We-
forensic television. We did that.
Oh, Law and Order?
Yeah.
Yeah,
They
your
will
mother
watch
loves Law and Order.
marathons, and then I could always tell when there was a marathon because she's like, I gotta park the car. I want to walk the dog.
I got to go take the dog for
And
a
I'm
walk.
like, I don't remember that Law and Order had like people with heavy New York
Brooke.
accents.
But you just feel like you live there.
Yeah. And the next thing you know, my parents are from New York.
Which borough? Staten Island? Oh, look who I brought it back.
No, they were from the island of Lenny Briscoe.
Who wasn't? Oh,
God bless you.
I'd
Jerry
love to be
Orbach.
from that island. I'd watch that man eat cereal.
Oh. So,
I got to make my list. I'll
Thank
make
you.
my list.
because I want to see that list. It's
Mike-
going to be a very eclectic list.
It really is.
All right. Hello, my name is Doris. Rotten Reviews. These are some excerpts that we've discovered on Rotten Tomatoes that, well, we're going to get some reactions on this. So this one is from a Supporta Report in Atlanta. There's something badly off-kilter when a two-time Oscar winner turns up in a film so confused and worse, so condescending. Not only to Sally Field, but to all women in her age range, that you can't quite figure out how it got made, let alone why.
One,
And go.
why are you trying to group all women of that age into a different like the fact that this character is established as having taken care of her mother and having lost so much of her life doing such, she didn't get married because of this. I don't think that this is a condescending film. I
No.
think this is a human film.
This
And I
is-
think that you're not a human to think that.
No, she just missed the point of the film. Or he did. I don't know who they are. They missed the point.
This person.
And this person did. And here's the point. Some people get put in situations where they either have kids very young or they have to take care of family or
Yeah.
they have responsibilities in which they miss out on being young and having fun. And then later they end up going through that phase kind of out of sequence. They go back to school when they're older to finish that, or they start partying once the kids are grown in a way that parents their age don't. And that's because they're living part of their life that they didn't get to live earlier. And I think we see that in a way with Doris in this film, and that you are never too old to discover who you are,
Yeah.
and find out where you fit. And it seems like they were trying to be anti-ageist and then just didn't
getting it.
at all. So I'm sorry for you. Next.
All right. National Post says the familiarity. Okay. The best part is, even without this, I wouldn't be able to say this word.
Familiarity.
The familiarity of its humor would be easier to forgive if its narrative ambitions weren't equally recognizable. And go.
I'm sorry. What were they trying to say? I mean, I understand they were using words, but it seemed very like you could go into politics. I have said something, but I really haven't. Agree with me.
That's all I got.
All right.
All right, cool.
We greatly appreciate all of our listeners for choosing the podcast and for supporting independent films in general. Keep an ear out for our next episode. To check out our show notes or to just drop us a note, visit us at imbibecinema.com. Once again, I'm Jonathan C. Leggett, and thanks for imbibing with us. Cheers.